friends! Do you know what equivalent fractions are? Well, if you come with me today into the schoolroom, we'll find out together. What is an equivalent fraction? Well, the word equivalent means two things or more things that are the same size. So an equivalent fraction are fractions that are the same size, even though when you write them down, they might look different. Let's look at this pair for an example. Here I've got one pair, one whole pair. I can cut my pair into two equal parts, so I can cut it into halves. That's one half, one out of two pieces, and that's one half, one out of two pieces. If I put those two halves back together, it will be the same as one whole pair. So if I put my two halves back together, so that I've got two out of two in my hand, two pieces out of two pieces all together, then it makes one whole pair. So 2 out of 2 is the same amount as 1. It's just that this one isn't cut up and this one is cut up into two pieces. I could decide to cut my pair into 1, 2, 3, 4 equal pieces. That means I've cut it into quarters. That's 1 quarter, 1 out of 4. That's 1 quarter, 1 out of 4 altogether. That's 1 quarter, 1 out of 4 altogether. And that's 1 quarter, 1 out of 4 altogether. If I put all of those 4 pieces back together so that they're held together, I will have 4 pieces out of 4 pieces altogether. Let me try that. I'll have to hold it very carefully. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put it back together and I've got 1 whole pair. So 4 quarters is the same as 1 whole pair. It's just that there the pair is not cut up and here it's cut up into 4 equal sized pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4. I could say that if I put these two pieces together, 2 quarters, they'll be the same size as 1 half. You can see that. 2 quarters is the same size as 1 half. There you go, you can see. They're the same size. 2 quarters is the same size as 1 half. So that means 2 quarters and 1 half are equivalent fractions. 2 quarters, 2 out of 4 altogether, is the same size as 1 out of 2 altogether. They're equivalent fractions. They're the same size. It's just what you might prefer to eat. I might want to eat my pears very slowly and have them cut in smaller pieces than if I just had a half and went munch, 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 munch. It might take me longer to eat these 2 pears, but I'm eating the same amount as that half a pear. It's the same amount. So 2 quarters is the same size as 1 half of a pear. 2 quarters is equivalent to 1 half. Excellent. Let's try it without pairs. Let's try it with our fraction strips. Move my pairs to the side. There we go. All right. Fraction strips show us equivalent fractions and let us do sums, with equivalent fractions using rectangles that are the same size. Sometimes it's confusing. Sometimes I like to turn on my food brain and go, whoa, look at that yummy, yummy, yummy blue chocolate bar. Am I going to eat it as a whole chocolate bar, holding it in my hand, num, 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 num? Or am I going to cut it into smaller pieces? I could cut it into 2 pieces, in halves. 1, 2, 2 halves. They're the exact same size as if I had it as one whole chocolate bar. There it is, cut into 2 halves. Funny how my chocolate bar can change colors. But you've got to use your imagination. So, how many halves make up one whole chocolate bar? Can you remember? 2 out of 2 altogether. 1, 2 out of 2 altogether make up one chocolate bar. What if I thought, I'd like to take a bit longer to eat my chocolate bar, so I'm going to cut it into 4 equal pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 equal pieces. If something is cut into 4, we know it's called quarters. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. And I can see that my 4 quarters are exactly the same size as one whole chocolate bar. So 4 out of 4 altogether is the same size as one whole chocolate bar. I might decide to chop my chocolate bar into smaller pieces. I'm going to do eighths. If I look at my numerator and my denominator, the denominator tells me how many pieces I'm cutting it into. So 8. I need to have 8 exactly the same. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How many eighths make up one whole chocolate bar? 8 out of 8 altogether will equal one whole chocolate bar. And I can easily see that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 eighths is the same size as one chocolate bar. I can also see that 1/2 a chocolate bar is the same size as 2 quarters. 1, 2, 2 quarters. That means 2 quarters and 1/2 are equivalent fractions, just like in our pairs over here. 2 quarters takes up the same amount of space as 1/2. But having a look here, I can also see, taking up the same amount of space, 4 eighths. 1, 2, 3, 4 is the same size as 2 quarters. 1, 2, which is the same size as 1/2. These are all equivalent fractions. They are the same size, but when you write them down, they look different. That's got a 2 at the bottom, that's got a 4 at the bottom, and that's got an 8 at the bottom. But because you're getting really good at fractions now, you know that eighths are smaller pieces than quarters, and quarters are smaller pieces than halves. So let's have a look. If I had chocolate bars and they were cut into different pieces, would I rather eat 1/2 a chocolate bar or 1/4 of a chocolate bar? Which one would I rather eat? I'd rather eat the half. It's bigger. It's bigger. Would I rather eat a half a chocolate bar or an eighth of a chocolate bar? Well, I'd rather eat a half a chocolate bar because it's bigger than the eighth, which is only one little bit. Would I rather eat a half a chocolate bar or 3/8 of a chocolate bar? Let's have a look. Well, I know which one I'd rather eat. Half a chocolate bar. Because the 3/8 don't equal the same amount of space. I'd rather eat the half. How many more eighths will I need to make it the same as a half? Let's try. One more. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4/8, 4 out of 8 altogether, is the same size as 1/2. 4/8 is the same size as a half. It's just that here they've been chopped into smaller pieces than there. But I don't mind if you give me 4 small pieces or a slightly bigger one. That's a half. Okay. We're going to do some bigger than and smaller than. Do you remember the bigger than and smaller than signs? Bigger than and smaller than. Sometimes it's a bit hard to remember, and I secretly turn them into crocodiles because crocodiles like to eat, just like the enormous crocodile from the Roald Dahl stories. This crocodile likes to eat fish if he's facing this way. He'll eat lots of fish. And this crocodile, if he's facing this way, is going to eat the bigger amount of fish this side because his mouth is open to eat the biggest amount. So let's try. If I had 1/8 of a chocolate bar or 1/8 of a fish, remember, imaginations, and I had a half a fish, which one would the crocodile prefer to eat? Well, he's very greedy. He'd prefer to eat half. So 1/8 is smaller than a half. There he is. Munch, 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 munch into his tummy. Munch, 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 munch. I want to eat those fish there. They are bigger. What if I had, let's see, clean them away. What if I had 5/8 and 1/4? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5/8, 5 out of 8, and 1/4. Which one would the crocodile prefer to eat? Well, he's a very hungry crocodile, so he's going to eat these ones, and we're going to say 5/8 are bigger than 1/4. What if my very hungry crocodile was going to eat, let me see, 3/4 of a fish and a half a fish? What would he prefer to eat? 3/4 or a half? Well, I can see, using this fraction strip, that the quarters there take up more space than the half that was over there. I can put the half on top to check. 3/4 are bigger than a half. So the crocodile would rather eat 3/4 of the fish. 3/4 are bigger than a half. What if the crocodile was given, let me see, this is going to be a tricky one, 6 eighths and 3/4. Which one would you rather eat? I can see that the spaces there are exactly the same size. 1, 2, 3, 3/4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6/8. There we go. Got to get the pen to work. 6/8. Which one would the crocodile rather eat? Well, do you know what? They take up the same amount of space. They're exactly the same amount. So they would probably be happy with either of them, because 3/4 is equal to 6/8. They're the same size. 3/4 is equal to 6/8. If you want to be fun, you can add the crocodile's eyes, and he's going, I don't mind which one I eat. They're the same size. Fraction strips are really helpful because they show us different ways that we can chop things up in equal amounts and how we can compare them. These ones are chopped into thirds. They're still the same size as one whole. These are chopped into tenths. That's still the same size as one whole. The last little ones here on mine are chopped into 12ths. That's still the same size as one whole. 12/12. So fraction strips are really helpful if we're trying to compare equivalent fractions, fractions that are the same size but just written differently.